decided to start my own channel to tell some of my stories when I was in the military. I feel like there's so many Navy SEAL, Delta podcasts, and I enjoy listening to them. I do like hearing those stories, but it's like there's not many out there. I just don't think of like regular Army infantry, and so I decided I'm going to tell some of my stories and put it on here, and then each week I'll release a different story. And so make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you stay to the end of the video, I'll tell you what next week's video is going to be about, which story I'm going to tell next. And I'll try and give you, I got a long list of exciting stories I want to share. So it's helpful for me to talk about it. It's helpful, it's therapeutic in a way, and I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, so this first one I call A Foot from Death. So it's 2006. We're in Iraq. I'm in a regular Army infantry company, and we're deployed to near Baghdad area, about 20 miles outside of Baghdad. It goes quickly from like city environment to farmland with small villages in between. So it's like spaced out farmland, and there's like small villages here and there. And we live in a small patrol base out kind of like in the middle of nowhere. Most infantry companies, they stay in patrol bases. A lot of the other MOS's jobs, they live on the big bases where they have a lot of amenities and stuff. But the most infantry guys, in the years 2004, 2008, that time frame, are living in patrol bases, and that is to be closer to your area of operations, to engage with the population, to live in the area that you're serving, basically. And so we're living in a small patrol base. It's mid 2006. We had been in Iraq for a few months, and we had a lot of problems with IEDs. Those years, 2005, 2006, 2007, were the worst years in Iraq. The average death was like over two soldiers a day were dying, and more than half of them were due to IEDs. That was a big problem. I mean, you'd be driving down the road, and you never know when it's going to be your day. You'd be driving you could hit a small bomb and blow up your tire, and you get a recovery crew and you go about your day. You could hit a bomb and everybody in the vehicle dies, and it just sucked because you never even got to shoot back. You never even got to do your job, really. You get hit blindsided, and people are screaming. It's chaos. And you don't really have anything to shoot at. You don't even, and that's what sucked about it. And so on this particular day, we had been out all day. We would do like 12-hour patrols, and we'd go into the villages and either look for the enemy, try and gain contact by the enemy, or we would just go and talk to the people in the villages and see what they needed. Do you guys need supplies, food, water? What are you guys having a problem with Al-Qaeda in this area or any other insurgent group? Are you guys having issues with your neighbors? And sometimes we would park and walk through villages, or we would just drive slowly through areas and kind of scan and see what's going on. But we would do 12-hour patrol. So this particular day, we were out all day, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and everybody was tired, dog tired. I mean, when you're out all day like that in the heat, and it just drains you. And so we're driving back. I'm in the lead vehicle. I was driving the lead vehicle at that time. And at this time, we had 4 vehicles in the convoy. So I was driving the lead vehicle in a 4-vehicle convoy, all Humvees. We were driving Humvees at this time. And this time, the IEDs, they adapted. At first, the IEDs were like remote detonated, where they would bury a bomb on the side of the road with like a cell phone or like a garage door opener or something, and then they would sit like 200-300 yards away from the road, and they would time it that when they saw you driving by, they would just hit the button and boom, and usually right after the explosion they would dart. I mean, we rarely found the triggerman. And so then they adapted. Then they would do before the remote ones, they did just regular command wire. They would do command wire and have to sit and it would be attached to it that way. Then they did remote, and then they started adapting and doing like EFPs came later along with like explosively foreign projectile, which was like a smaller IED that was it would melt like a copper ball and send it through the vehicle and light everybody inside on fire. We actually had one of those kill one of my close buddies. But anyway, on this particular day we were driving, and at nighttime they started doing pressure plates. So they would have a curfew at nighttime where when it got to dusk, nobody was allowed to be on the road except for American or coalition forces. So if any vehicle was out on the road, we would assume that they're either enemy or that they don't know about the curfew. So the bad guys knew about this too, so they would set up pressure plate IEDs where you'd be driving down the road and you just drive over it and it would explode. Then they wouldn't even have to be there. They wouldn't have to monitor with a remote. They wouldn't have to sit and watch. And so we drove with no lights on for a while. We were trying not to be seen at night. We drove with no lights on with night vision as we were going from point A to point B, but they started doing these pressure plates. And so you could be driving at night vision, not seeing anything, and then you drive over one of these pressure plates and boom. So now we had to adapt. So we started putting lights on the vehicles to try and see IEDs at night, pressure plates. And so I remember like a couple days before this mission, I had put so many lights on my Humvee. We had like the standard 2 lights on the front, and then I mounted 2 on the top. I had 2 more on the front. We had a spotlight on the side, like a cop light. We had probably 8 different lights on this Humvee, and so I was driving lead vehicle. All my lights are on, and then everybody behind is driving dark. They're all driving night vision, and this is so that I can spot something, and then everybody behind's in the dark. So if I were to see something, I could alert everybody, and if I were to happen to miss it, or the guys in the background are in the dark, so they couldn't command wire remote det the guys in the back. But so we're driving along. I'm just trying to set up the atmosphere of how bombs were at this time. But we're driving along, and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and almost everybody in my truck's asleep. My truck commander, his eyes are closed. He's the 2 guys in the back, the dismounts, are asleep, and I think my gunner was awake. So the gunner in the turret, he was still awake. I mean, he should be. He should be pulling security. That's what you should be doing. But to be honest, when you're out all day like that, you get tired, and so sometimes guys fall asleep. And we're on the way back to base. We're on like the final road back to our patrol base, and you just assume you're safe for the most part. And so we're driving down this stretch, and all of a sudden I see like a glimmer of light in the road in front of me, and it like just caught my eye. It's pretty unusual for there to be like a sparkle in the road for anything metallic, because there's nothing metal out there. There's no street lights. It's unusual to see metal. So I'm driving, and in the headlights, on all my lights, I see like a little glimmer, a little sparkle in the road. And so I slow down and come to a complete stop, like a foot away from what I see as sparkle in the road. And I mean, we were probably driving 40 miles an hour before that, so like I pretty much had to almost come and slam to a stop. And then the truck commander woke up, and he's like, "What's going on?" And I was like, I see something in the road. I see a glimmer, a sparkle in the road. And he's like, "It's nothing. Just keep driving." And I was like, "No, you don't see that? You don't see that sparkle in the road?" And like he insisted. He was like, "It's nothing, man. Just keep driving." And I was like, "No, I really think it's something." He's like, "Well, I tell you what. If you really think it's something, then you can be the one that goes on the radio, calls up to the lieutenant, then they can call EOD and come out here, and we'll be waiting. And if you want to be that guy, then you can be that guy." So that was just our SOP, our standard operating procedure. If we saw an IED, or if we got hit by an IED, we'd call up. They would get EOD out there, Explosive Ordnance Detachment or Explosive Ordnance Team. And they would be coming from the bigger bases. Like these guys would usually either be like Air Force or Navy, or I think there was some Army guys too. But a lot of times we got like Air Force guys. But they were EOD. They were bomb experts. And so I call up on the radio to the lieutenant. I'm like, "Hey, I think I see something in the road." And he's like, Roger, what do you see? I was like, I see a sparkle on the road. It looks like it could be a wire that could be tied to an IED. He's like, all right. He's like, I'll call up EOD. Get your space. Make sure you back up some. So we back up away from it, and they call up EOD, and they're at the big base, which is like 40 minutes away. So we gotta wait a while. So like an hour later goes by, and these guys come rolling up. They come rolling up in their cool trucks. Their trucks are just different. They're meant to withstand bombs. They're meant to detect bombs. They're meant to sweep for bombs. So they're different. So these guys roll up and ask what we got going on. We're like, hey, up there, I think we marked it with a chem light or something. They're like, hey, we see something on the road up there. Can you guys check it out? So we're like, yeah, we'll send a robot up there, and we'll drop a charge on it, or we'll take a look with the robot, and then we'll drop a charge on it. We're like, all right. So I can see them getting ready. They're like, they got their hatch open. They're getting the robot ready. They're putting a little charge, got like a little claw that can hold a charge. And so they start driving this robot down to where the bomb is. And we're all just sitting here in our vehicles kind of watching, waiting to see what's going to happen. And so they go down there. They drop the charge on the suspected bomb, IED. And then it drives back, and then they call up on the radio, like, all right, we got the charge on it. Looks like there was some disturbed dirt. There was looked like a wire with some disturbed dirt. So we've dropped a charge on it, and we're gonna blow it, and we'll give you guys a heads up. So whenever EOD was gonna do a controlled detonation, they would call some on the radio and say, hey, you got 1 minute till detonation, and 30 seconds, and 10 seconds. So we're sitting in our truck, and we're all awake now. I mean, we're about to witness them blowing up an IED, which this happened all the time, but it's 2 o'clock in the morning. We're all just kind of bored now, awake, watching. And so he calls up on the radio, 30 seconds, all right, 10 seconds. The gunner comes down, closes the hatch, and then he's like, all right, after 10 seconds, 5, and then all of a sudden we're watching, and all of a sudden it's like boom, and we're all kind of looking at each other. Like, it wasn't a very big explosion, and so we're like, they're kind of like nudging me, like, see, I told you it wasn't nothing. And so they drive the robot back, and they call up on the radio like, hey, I don't think that did it. The charge did not detonate the bomb, so we're gonna send another charge out there. And so yeah, just hang tight. So they attach another charge, they send it out, drop that one, come back, same thing, they do the countdown, and this time, boom, massive explosion. I mean, some of these explosions, like, they literally cover your whole peripheral vision. You'll be looking at, like, in a big mushroom cloud, and massive explosion. And so they come back, and like, yeah, I can't remember how many pounds it were buried, but it was a crush wire tied to an IED. And so if I would have drove over that crush wire, it would have crushed the wire, sent the current, or broke the current of the charge, and it would have detonated, and it would have killed every single person in that truck. And so just because I saw a glimmer of light, stopped a hair away from it, and luckily I did, and we were all right. And so we're driving back, everybody's thankful, like, man, now they're thanking me, like, good job, man, good job, you did good. And my platoon sergeant calls up on the radio, he's like, hey, I'm gonna put you in for an award when we get back. And he never did. That never happened, but it sounded cool. And so yeah, that was it. That was that story. And so yeah, if you liked it, subscribe, comment, like, and I'm going to be dropping a video each week. I'm going to be telling a different story. I already have a good list of cool stories I want to tell. So, and next week I'm going to tell the story of our sister company got hit with a V-bid. Somebody drove a V-bid into their gate and detonated it right next to their main building, and it killed a couple soldiers like instantly. And so our platoon was tasked, all these sticking motorcycle driving by, it's gonna ruin my audio. Our platoon was tasked with going out there for recovery, so we were the first ones on site to help find these missing soldiers, which meant we had to pick up body parts and put them in bags to identify the soldiers. And then also on that same mission, I also, when we went back to base for a night, I drove over a bomb myself. And so yeah, I'll tell that story next week. So subscribe. I'll probably do it the same time next week. Hope you guys liked it. Talk to you soon. Take care. God bless.